We begin today at the Mishnah on Daf Ayin Zayin Amid Aleph. Zok the Heilige Mishnah Bas Cholol Zachar, the daughter of a Cholol. So the Cholol is a Zachar. He's a Pasal Kayin, but the mother is not Pasal. Psula min Kohana. So the daughter is Pasal from Kohana. She can't marry a Kayin. She becomes a Chalala as well. So what the Tanakama here is saying is, as long as the father is a Cholol, that pasals the daughter. But if it's the other way around, as we'll see here, the Gemara, the Mishnah continues right away. But Yisrael shenasa chalala. But if the father is Yisrael and it's the mother which is a chalala, so then bitek sheira lekohana. So then the daughter is kasha to kohana. The Mishnah says again the same halacha that it said in the beginning. Chalal shenasa bas Yisrael. If it's a chalal, the father is the one that's pasal, and he married a bas Yisrael, then bitek psul lekohana. The daughter will be pasal lekohana. So the Gemara is going to bring the psukim where we learn this out, that only if the father is a chalal, then the daughter is pasal, but if the mother is a chalal, then the daughter is not pasal. So the Mishnah weiter, Rabbi Yehuda says, Bas ger, the daughter of a ger zochar. So the father is a ger, kebas chalal, has the same halacha as the daughter of a chalal zochar. Just like a daughter of a chalal zochar is pasal for kohana, so too the daughter of a ger is also pasal kohana. But that's only similar to a chalal. Just like by a chalal, only if the father is a chalal, not if the mother is a chalala. The same thing with ger. Only if the father is a ger is the daughter pasal, but if the mother is a geyairis, the daughter is not pasal. That's a Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda, that we just read, sorry. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that Yisrael shenasa geyairis, if it's a Yisrael, and he married a Geyairis, the mother's a Geyairis, then bitek sheira lekona. The daughter is still going to be kasher lekona. The same is the other way around as well. The ger shenasa bas Yisrael, if it's a ger that married a bas Yisrael, so only the father is a ger, not the mother, also bitek sheira lekona. The daughter will still be kasher. Avol ger shenasa Geyairis, only if both the father and the mother are Geirim, then bitek psul lekona. Then the daughter is going to be pasal lekona. Now the Mishnah adds to this, echad ger, whether we're talking about a parent that's a ger or a eved meshuchrer, which is also a gerus, afilad asara deiris, and even until 10 generations, it doesn't matter. Achetehei imay mi Yisrael, the daughter will be pasal unless the mother is from Yidden. So that, again, depends on the opinions over here, whether only if both parents pasal or only if the father pasals. The Mishnah is saying that it's until asara deiris. Rabbi Yosi, a third opinion about a child of a ger, Rabbi Yosi says, Av ger shenasa geyairis, even if both parents are geirim, bitek sheira lekohana. The daughter that's born is kasher lekohana. We'll see in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to bring drashas for these three opinions here regarding a child from geirim. Okay, we'll see in the Gemara. It's going to be on the Ayin Ches. So the Gemara, Mai lo oilam. What is the meaning of the first halach in the Mishnah? It said that the daughter of a chalal zachar is pasal min hakohana la'olam. What's this halacha of la'olam? So the meaning of la'olam in the Mishnah is that when you have a chalal, so you shouldn't think that only the first generation chalal pasals the daughter. The son of that chalal and the grandson, the great grandson, forever. It always has a status of a chalal, and a daughter will be pasal. La'olam. This chalal continues forever. So the Gemara explains as Mao the Teme, the Mishnah has to say La'ilam, because otherwise I would think maybe I should compare the psul of a chalal to the psul of mitzri and adaimi. Ma'ala halon, just like by mitzri and adaimi, that are megayer. What's the halacha? La'acha shloisha deiris. After 3 generations, they're mutter to marry into Klal Yisrael, as the pasuk clearly says. Avka nami, maybe I should say regarding the psul of a chalal as well. La'acha shloisha deiris, that after 3 generations, the child does not become pasal anymore, and he can marry into Klal Yisrael. Kamash malam, that's what the Mishnah has to say. La'olam, that if you have a daughter from a chalal, a son of a chalal, a grandson, a great grandson, forever, the child will be a chalala. The bas that's born will be a chalala. The next halacha of the Mishnah was Yisrael shenasa chalala. If the father is a kasher Yisrael, it's only the mother which is a chalala. So then the daughter is not pasal. Says the Gemara Minana Mili. From where do we know this? That when the mother is the chalala, then the child, the daughter that's born, is not pasal. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rab Shimon, because Nemakan, the pasuk says, V'lo yichal zari b'amav, that you should not desecrate your children be'amov. It uses the term be'amov amongst the nation, Yidden. V'nema lahalon, and in the same parsha it also says lo yitame bal be'amov, that a Baal should not become Tomei. And this is the Isser of Tumah, that a Kain is not allowed to be Metame to a mace. So we compare the two. Ma'ala Chanan v'lo nekeva is just like regarding the Isser of Tumah, that there is by a Kain, that Isser applies only to a Zachar and not Nekeva, is because it says Emoid al B'nei Aharon and not B'nei Sarin. Afkan, so too b'negeya to the fact that a child becomes a chalal, lo yichalal zaroi, zacharim v'lo nekevis. That's only if the father is a chalal and not nekevis. If the mother is a chalal, then the child will not be possible. If that's the gzeir shaveh, that only the zachar will passel, not a nekeva, se'ela meyata. So if so, bitoi shel kohen gadol. How about the daughter of the kohen gadol? The Kohen Gadol that married the Almana, the first generation, where the Isser happened, where the Kohen Gadol married the Almana that's puzzle. So why shouldn't we say that the daughter of this Kohen Gadol, Tishtiri, should be mutter? Because you're saying that the Isser applies only to a Zachar, not to an Akeva. So the daughter that's born directly from the very first generation where the Isser happened should also be mutter. So the Gemara says, no, that you can't say, because Lo Yechalol Zaroi. It says in the Pasuk, Lo Yechalol, do not desecrate Zaroi, your child. So in this word, zar oy, your child, we say as follows. Makish zar eloi. We compare the child to him himself, because it doesn't say zera, it says zar oy. So in this one word, zar oy, it includes the kohen himself and zar oy. And we say that what's the comparison? Mahu bitay psula, just like regarding the kohen gadol himself. When he marries an almana, the daughter becomes pasul. 1 second. Did I go up a line, or am I? Huh? 1 second. Mixiv. No, I think 1 second. I went down a line. Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I have to go back up a line. So again, the Gemara's question was that the daughter of a Kohen Gadol should become mutter. So the Gemara answers here. This is where I was holding. It says the Gemara, no. Mixiv benoi. Does it say that you only passel your son? Zara iksiv. It says in the pasuk Zare. Zare means any child, even a daughter. Leichal Zare ba'amav. So Leichal Zare, it says that an almana that married a kohen gadol, even the daughter will be pasul. But the Gemara now asks another question. Bas benoi tishtiri. But the daughter of your son, which is a chalal, should be mutter. So the question is, in the Mishnah it said that only a daughter of a daughter, which is a halala, if the mother is the halala, then the daughter that's born is kosher. If the father is the chalal, then the daughter is going to be pasul. But why are we saying that? Baz b'noi tishtiri. Why wouldn't we say that the daughter of the son should be mutter? Because we're learning out from Tumah that the Isra doesn't apply to a nekeva, so the daughter of the son should be mutter. Answers the Gemara. Lo yechalol ksiv, lo yechalol zaroi. The pasuk says lo yechalol zaroi. Now, what does zaroi mean? Makish zaroi loy. In the word zaroi, it says your descendant, and therefore we compare the kohen himself, to the descendant. Mahu bitoy psula. Just like when it comes regarding the kohen gadol himself that did the iser and married an almana. So there, the pasuk clearly says zaroi, that the daughter, not only a son, but even the daughter will be pasul. Av benoi. The same thing also when it comes to the son that is a chalal, bitay psula. So the son, his daughter will also be pasul, just like the halach of the father. The same halach is regarding the son. If that's the case, that we compare the father and the son, so bas bitay titzar. So if so, the daughter of the daughter should also be asar. You're comparing, when in the word zaroi, you're saying that you compare the zera to the father. So just like the father that married an almana, the daughter is pasul. So you're saying the son, which is a chalal, his daughter also becomes pasul. So you should say the same thing regarding his daughter. That the daughter, which is a halala, so her daughter should also be pasul. So that the Gemara answers, Im Kain, if you're going to say that the daughter of the daughter is pasul, in other words, if the mother is the halala, then the daughter is also pasul, Gzeir Shava Maya Hanile. So then this Gzeir Shava that we just had before, Ba'amov, to learn out from Tumah, that we don't apply the chilul of the zera regarding an akeva, where are you going to apply that Gzeir Shava? You have to apply that Gzeir Shava in one case to exclude an akeva. So the place where you apply the Gzeir Shava is when it's a daughter of a daughter. When the mother is the halala, the daughter of that halala will not be pasul. Sagt the Gemara weiter, what did it say in the Mishnah? Cholol shenasa bas Yisrael, when the father is the Cholol, and he married a bas Yisrael, bitei psula, because the father is the Cholol, the daughter will be puzzled. So the Gemara asks on this, Hatana le'reisha. This is the first halach of the Mishnah that it already said, bas Cholol zachab psula min hakahona lo'ilam. That if the father is the Cholol, the daughter is puzzled. And says the Gemara, you're right, it's taka repetition, and the only reason it says it is, I did Tana Reisha, because the Mishnah starts saying before this, Yisrael shenasa chalala, that if it's Yisrael that marries the chalala, the mother's the chalala, and here the Mishnah said the halacha, that the daughter that's born is kosher. So Tana Nam is safe, so the Mishnah continues and says the opposite as well, that if it's chalal, shenasa bas Yisrael, if the father is the chalal and married a bas Yisrael, that he'll be puzzled. But it's really, you're right, there's no new halacha here. It's a repetition of the same halacha that it said already before. What it says in our Mishnah, that if the father is a cholol, even though the mother is kosher, the mother is a bas Yisrael, so as long as the father is a cholol, the child will be puzzled, is not like Rabbi Distoi ben Yehuda. The Tanya, because in the Braisa we learned, Rabbi Distoi ben Yehuda said that Kishem shebnei Yisrael mikveh tara lachalala is just like in a case where the father is a Yisrael. And if the mother, which is a halala, so then the father becomes like a mikveh tara, meaning he's mitayr now the children. As long as the father is kosher, so then the child will be kosher as well. Kach b'nois Yisrael, the same thing is also when it comes to b'nois Yisrael. Mikveh tara l'chalal. If the father is a halal, but the mother is not, the father is a Yisrael, so also the child will not be a halal. That's what Rabbi Distoi ben Yehuda said. My time at Rabbi Distoi ben Yehuda. What's the source for Rabbi Distoi ben Yehuda? He says as follows: Omakra, when the pasuk says Lo yechalol zaroi ba'amov, that you should not desecrate the children, and it says the word be'amov. What does be'amov mean? In the nation of the Yidden. So Rashi says the diak of the Gemara is it says be'amov, which means that both the father and the mother are in the same am. They're in the same status. It doesn't say ba'am mamov with an extra mem, which would mean that they're like two different nations. They're not the same status. What that means is ba'am echad, if both the father and the mother are of the same nation, of the same status, meaning only if the father and the mother are a chalal and a chalala, hu demechel, then the child will be a chalal. B'shnei amamin, but if there are two different nations, meaning if either the father is kosher or either the mother is kosher, ein mechel, the child will not be a chalal. You should not desecrate the child. From this pasuk I see, if a kohen gadol marries an almana, a kohen marries anyone that's puzzled, the child becomes a chalal. He atzma. Rabbi Yehuda? Yeah. In the Mishnah? Yeah, No. Rabbi Yehuda. No, Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, but Gadim is a different limit. We'll see. Gadim is a different din. Again, in this pasuk I see that the children from this marriage of a kohen to someone that's puzzled, so the child becomes a chalal. How do I know that she herself, the woman herself, by marrying a kohen that she was not allowed, she herself becomes a chalala as well now? Says the Gemara, so you'll say the answer is this is a kavachayim. Ma zarai. If when it comes to the child that's born, the child himself didn't do any aveda. But mischalal, he's born from this marriage, it's not allowed, so he becomes a chalal. He shavra aveda, she's a grusha, let's say, she marries a kohen, so she did an aveda. Now Rashi clarifies over here, the aveda of a kohen marrying a grusha is not only an aveda on the kohen, it's an aveda on her as well. She's not allowed to marry the kohen, so she did an aveda. Ein edin shem mischalala, so definitely she should become a chalala through this as well. So the Gemara says, you can't make such a kavachayim, because hu atzma yichiach. I'll prove to you that this chavachem is not true from the kohen himself. What's the halacha regarding a kohen himself when he marries a woman that's possible for him? Shavar aveda, he did an aveda, but ve'im is chalal. The kohen himself does not become a chalal. Leichal zarei, but he himself does not become a chalal. So therefore, I could say the same thing regarding the woman. Just like the kohen doesn't become a chalal, I would compare the kohen, the woman that is, to the kohen, instead of comparing and learning out with a kavachaymer from the child that's born. So the Gemara answers, no, you can't compare the woman to the kohen. Why? Malahu, when it comes to the man, to the kohen, sheken ein mischal b'chol mokem. The halacha regarding a kohen is that if he has a relation with someone that's pasul, it doesn't affect his kashrus of kahuna. He can still go do the aved in the Beis Hamikdash. A kohen himself that has a relation with anyone that's pasul doesn't affect his kashrus. But when it comes to a woman, shemischaleles b'chol mokem, a woman that has a relation with anyone that's pasul, it's mechalel her. Rashi here brings a pasuk. It says, "Ubas kayin kisil ish zar." If she marries a ish zar, she becomes pasul. So you can't learn out the woman from the man. You can't say that if the kayin himself doesn't become a chalal, so too she doesn't become a chalal. So rather, where do we learn her out from? We learn her out from the child. If the child becomes a chalal, kal v'chaimer that the mother that did a isser should become a chalal. Then the Braisa continues, it says, but v'im nafshach loymar. If you're going to want to say that you can't learn this kal v'chaimer, that we learn the mother from the child, that if the child becomes pasul, a chalal, the mother as well, so then I'll tell you, we can learn out from the pasuk itself. Because Amakra, the pasuk says, lo yechalel zara. You should not desecrate the child. What do we learn from what it says, lo yechalel? What it means is, lo yechulal zeh shahoya kasher v'nischalel. The meaning of lo yechalel means that you have someone that was not pasul before, and now you're desecrating him. That goes only on the mother. The child was never kosher that became chalal. He was born pasul. So the fact that the Torah uses this term yechalel is mashma that there's someone that was kosher that becomes pasul. That's the mother. That's the limud. So now the Gemara explains, why does the Braisa find it necessary to bring this drasha if it brought a kal v'chaimer? What does the Braisa mean to say? And if you're not going to want to agree to the kal v'chaimer that it brought, then I'll bring you a pasuk. So the Gemara explains, if you'll say, the whole kal v'chaimer that we brought, that we learn out the mother from the child that becomes pasul, you could refute this. I'll tell you as follows, Malazada, you know why the Torah says that the zera becomes pasul, becomes a chalal, sheken yitzirase ba'aveda. His very creation is through an aveda. His whole existence is with an aveda. That's why he's pasul. But the mother, even though she did an aveda, but her whole being is not a result of an aveda, so therefore you can't make a kal v'chaimer from the child to the mother. Makro, that's where the Braisa brings the pasuk lo yechalel, which means lo yechulal zeh shahoya kosher v'nischalel. Lo yechalel means someone that was kosher and became chalal, and that could go only on the mother, not in the child that was always pasul. Tana Rabbanan, and a Braisa we learned ezi hi chalala. The Braisa says which woman becomes a chalala? Kol shel nelda min psulim. That's a woman, a girl that's born from psulim. That's what the Braisa says. The Gemara will clarify what is the meaning of the lashon of this Braisa that she was born from psulim. My psulim. The psulim is a very, very broad term. Any kind of psul. So if you're going to say psulim loy, any time that this is a woman that's possible to get married to this man, the child that's born is a chalala and she can't marry a kayin. But I'll bring you an example of a psul where this can't be, because are a machze grushasei. The psul loy. A woman that this man divorced and she already got married to someone else and now she got divorced, she wants to go back to her first husband. That's the issue of machzor grishasa. You're not allowed to marry this woman that he divorced. So it's possible to him. But over there, what's the halacha of b'nei akshedim? The child that's born from such a relationship of machzor grishasa, the child is kosher. Because over there, by this isser, the pasuk says, toyeva hi, that it's abominable, and we learn from this, hi toyeva, that she's a teyev. What she did is a teyev. The children remain kosher. So you can't say that the Braisa is saying that there was when there's a psul, all psulim, including this psul of machzor grishasai, that the child will be pasul. Because over here I see a example of a psul where the child is still kosher. So Amar Rav Yudah said, Hachikama, this is what the Braisa meant to say. Ezi chalala, who is a chalala, kol shenelda min psul kahuna. If the child is born from any psul kahuna, if a Kohen Hedyot married a Grusha, or a Chalala, or Zaina, or if a Kohen Gadol married an Almana, any Psul Kahuna, then the child will be pasul. So the Gemara asks in this Pshat, does that mean Noilda in, only someone that's born from this Psul, he's going to become a Chalala? Loy Noilda loy, but if you weren't born not, but Harei, Almana, Grusha, Zaina, the Loy Noilda, the Almana, Grusha, and Zaina that marry a Kayin, they weren't born from someone that's pasul. When they marry the Kayin, as we said before, they themselves become a Chalala. So why is it saying only someone that's born from a pasul becomes a pasul? So Rabbi explains, that halach is true, that the mother becomes pasul as well. But what this price is coming to say is as follows. Which is the Chalala which is mentioned in the Torah? And this is a halala that was never kosher. From birth, this is a halala that's pasul. That's called shenelda mimsul kahuna. That's only a child that's born from someone that was pasul to marry a kain that married a kain. Now the Gemara says, what did Rabbi mean by this expression that he said, my muskeres? What did he mean? What's mentioned? What did he mean by this? This is what he's saying. Which is the chalala she'ikra midivrei Torah? Which this is the main chalala what the Torah clearly speaks about. When it says v'leichal zarei, that's clearly in the Torah. Ve'ein tzrichim lefarshim divrei seifrim. You don't need any drasha that Chachamim came and darshaned. And that is kol shenelda min psulei kohana. A child that's born from psulei kohana, the pasuk clearly says v'leichal zarei. The fact that the mother herself, when she married a kohen, that she's not allowed, that she becomes pasul, that's a drasha. Over here, this brayso is saying that the child becomes pasul. That's when there's a woman that's pasul to marry a kohen. Tana Rabbanan, and a brayso we learned almana. If there's an almana, she's once an almana, again an almana, a third time an almana, and a kohen gadol marries her, ein chayav alachas. The kohen gadol will be chayav only once for this iser. The Gemara is going to explain soon exactly what these three almanas here are. Grusha. If this woman is 3 times a grusha and a kohen had yet marries her, ein chayav alachas. He's only chayav only once. What's if a kohen marries, or a kohen gadol that is, marries a woman which is an almana, ugrusha, then she became a grusha, uchalala, then she became a chalala, then zayna, and then afterwards she became a zayna. This is actually the seder, the way it's brought in the pasuk. So bezman shem kiseder, if it happened in this order, the way it says it in the pasuk, chayav akolachas v'achas, the kohen gadol will be chayav separately for each one of these yisurim, will be chayav 4 times malchus. Zinsa, but if it's the opposite, if first this woman was mezana, she had a relation with someone which is forbidden, she becomes a zayna. Then v'nis chalala, then she becomes a chalala because she married a kohen that's pasul and that makes her a chalala. Then v'nis garsha, then she married someone and he divorced her, now she became a grusha. And then v'nis arbala, only and the end she became an almana. Then in a chayiv alachas. In that case, she'll only be chayiv once. Okay, Gemara now is going to explain every detail of this brayso. Says the Gemara, the Brayso here said, almana. If there's 3 times almana in a chayiv alachas, the kohen gadol is only chayiv once. What's the case here? Hi almana echidami. What are we talking about? If the case here is Shabbat al almanas Reuven, this kohen gadol got married to the almana of Reuven, v'almana Shimon. Then he got married to the almana of Shimon. Then almanas Levi got married to the almana of Levi. 3 different almanas of 3 different men. Amay in a chayiv alachas. Why would the Brayso say that the kohen gadol is only chayiv once? Hare gufim muchlakim. These are 3 different almanas, different bodies, and hare shemus muchlakim. And there's different names. They're almanas of different men. So for sure you should be chayiv 3 times. Taisus here adds that the Gemara didn't even have to bring the case where these are 3 almanas of 3 different men. If these were 3 almanas from the same man, the Gemara would have the same question. There are 3 different gufim. As long as there are 3 different gufim, 3 different almanas, you should be chayiv each one separately. Hello, so the case must be over here. Shalba al almana achas shalish bias. Brayso is saying that this is one almana, and he had a relation with her 3 times. And on that, the Brayso is saying that it's chayiv only once. In fact, the Gemara, sahechidami. What's the case over here? If you're going to say that the reason he's chayiv only once is because he didn't get a hasra 3 times, he wasn't warned each time. So pshita then a chayiv alachas. So for sure he's going to be chayiv only once because you don't get malchus unless you get a separate hasra for the issur that you did. Ella, the asr be akol chada v'chada. The Brayso here must be saying, even in a case where he had a relation with this almana 3 times and he got a separate asra for each time, he's still going to be chayiv only once. Why would he be chayiv only once? But Tanan, we learned the Mishnah says, Nazir shoy yayin kolayim kuloy, a Nazir that's not allowed to drink wine, and he drinks wine the entire day, and a chayiv alachas. He's only chayiv once. But omru loy al tishta. If you got a separate warning for each time he's drinking wine, and and he continues drinking, then he got a separate warning. Chayav akolachas v'achas. He's going to be chayav separately for each time that he drinks wine. So over here as well, if he has a relation with this one almana, but he gets a separate asra for each time, he should be chayav for each maisa separately. And so the Gemara, the Brayso means something completely different. The case here is Shabbat al almanas Reuven. He had one relation with this almana. Now this almana was an almana of Reuven. Shahaisa almanas Shimon. She was before an almana of Shimon. Shahaisa almanas Levi. She's an almana of 3 different men, and the kohen gadol had one relation with this almana. I would think to say she has 3 different names of an almana because of the 3 different men that she became an almana from. Kamash Malan, therefore the Braisa says that the Kohen Gadol is only chayiv once because gufim muchlakim be'inan. That the only time the Kohen Gadol would be chayiv separately is if it's different people, different almanas. Veleke, here it's one almana, the fact that she was married to 3 men is not going to be mechayiv separately. The next halacha of the Braisa, it said, almana, grusha, chalala, zayna, that if this woman first became an almana, then she married someone else, she became a grusha. Then she married a kohen that was possible to her and she became a chalala. Then a zayna. Then afterwards she was mizana with someone, she became a zayna. If it was in this order, the Braisa says you're going to be chayiv for each one of them. But if it was in the opposite order, you're going to be chayiv only once. So the Gemara explains. Hi Tana, my kasava. What's the opinion of this Tana here? Ikasavar, if this Tana holds, Isser chal al Isser. When you have already a woman that's also for one reason, and now she becomes also for another reason, the second Isser is chal on the same woman, even though she's already Isser. A second Isser could be chal on the first Isser. So then, Afilah Keseit Razeh, where am I holding over here? So then, Ipchanami, that is. Ipchanami. So then even if it's not in this order, the way it says it in the Pasuk, even if it's in a different order, in any order, doesn't make a difference. One Isser could be chal on another Isser. So you can have all these 4 Yisurim being chal on the same woman, and the Kohen should get 4 times Malchus. If, however, this Tana here holds that one Isser can't be chal on another Isser. Once she's Asr, another Isser doesn't apply her. So then I feel like you say that as nami loy. So even if it happened in the order, the way the pasuk says it, the kohen should only get 1 time malchus. Once she's aser, no additional isser takes effect. And says the Gemara, Amar Rav. So Rav explains as follows: Hi Tana isser chalal isser lesle. This Tana holds once you have 1 isser, a second isser cannot usually take effect. But Isser Meisif Isle. What he holds is, even once you have an Isser, and now another Isser takes effect, if the second Isser is Meisif, that she becomes now Asr to additional people, to someone that she was not Asr before, then the second Isser will take effect. So therefore, this will only be true in the order that the Pasuk says it. And the Gemara explains, Almana, if first she was Asr as an Almana to the Kohen Gadol, so Asur le Kohen Gadol. So now she's only Asr to a Kohen Gadol. B'shari l'kohen hedyet, but she's still allowed to marry a kohen hedyet. That's the halacha of the almana. Then havila grusha, the second issa takes effect. She now becomes a grusha. Migud itaisif la isura legabe kohen hedyet, because now there's something added here. There's someone else that becomes asa here of the issa of grusha itaisif la isura legabe kohen gadol. So even for the kohen gadol himself, this second issa takes effect, and the kohen gadol will be chayav for almana and grusha. Now vadayin shari lamechel betrumah. She would still be allowed to eat trumah if she's an almana, if she's a grusha. That doesn't pass her from eating trumah. Have you chalala? Then when she becomes a chalala, what happens is migadi toisef yisur lamechel betrumah. Now that it adds another issa that she's also to eat trumah, eat toisef yisur legabe kohen gadol. It adds another issa also for the kohen gadol. That the kohen gadol will be chayiv a 3rd time for the fact that she's a chalala now. Okay, so that we understand. So regarding these 3, it's clear to see how one adds to the other. But Ella Zaina, the Gemara asks, regarding the 4th one, which is if she now becomes a Zaina, she had a relation with someone that she wasn't allowed, and she becomes a Zaina, my Issa Maisa Fispa. What additional Issa is added with this? So Amar Rav Chana Barav, Ketina, Enochanami, over here in this case it doesn't add any Isser, but Hoyel V'Shem Znus, Paisel B'Yisrael, if she would have been a Eishes Ish, and she was mezana with someone else, why she was a Eishes Ish, then she would have become Asa to Yisrael, to her husband. So since we see that Zaina is potentially a kind of Issa that could add a new level of Issa for a Yisrael, so here as well we say that the fact that she now becomes a Zaina is considered to be that it's adding something. Even though B'Payal over here, she became a Zaina even when she was single. She had a relation with someone that was not allowed, with a brother, with someone that's not allowed, and she becomes a Zaina. Over here, in this case, it doesn't actually add an Isser, but because the Shem Zaina in general, when she would have been an Eishes Ish, it could add an Isser. That's enough to say that this is a new status, a new level of an Isser, that you chayiv for this as well. Tani Tana Kamed Rav Sheshes. Tana taught in front of Rav Sheshes the following halacha. Kol shuhu b'yikach, in the parsha over there. So the Torah says by a kohen gadol, v'hu isha b'psula yikach, that the kohen gadol should marry a basula. So if yikach applies, that he's able to marry her, harehu b'lo yikach. So then the issa, the lav of lo yikach, that he shouldn't marry an almana, and grusha, and so on, that lav will apply as well. But kol she'ena b'yikach, if this is a woman where there's no possibility for her, for the kohen anyways to marry her, then any below yikach. Then the law of lo yikach regarding the various women the pasuk says there, that would not apply. And the Brisa spells out what this Brisa is talking about. Prat, what this is coming to exclude is the Kohen Gadol sheba ala choisai almana. If the Kohen Gadol went and married his sister, which also became an almana, in such a case, she's already also for being a sister. So it's not possible for there to be any yikach. He can't marry her anyways. So in such a case, the law of la yikach to marry an almana will not apply. No. He will be chayiv kodesh for marrying her as a sister. But the law of almana, he won't be chayiv malchus for that. So Amalei, so Rav Shesha said to this Tana that taught us halacha, Damalach mani. Whose halacha are you teaching over here? Rav Shimoni. What you're saying is Rav Shimon's opinion. The Amar, Rav Shimon said, Ein Isser, Chalal Isser. Once she's also for one Isser, a second Isser does not take effect on her. She's also already for being his sister, so the second Isser of Almana does not take effect. And what's the source? Where did Rav Shimon say this? Tanya Rav Shimon said, a person needs nevela, so it's already also because of being a nevela, and he ate it on Yom Kippur. So potter is going to be potter. So Rashi here says whether this animal was already a nevela before Yom Kippur, so there's no place for the isser of eating a Yom Kippur to be chal on it, or even if it became a nevela on Yom Kippur, but because it wasn't shechted before Yom Kippur, that means that when Yom Kippur came in, this meat here was an ever min achai. It was alive. It was part of a live animal. So the Isser of Yom Kippur to eat cannot take effect over here. So the same thing, just like over here, he said, Ein Isser Chalal Isser, we're saying the same thing regarding the sister that now became an Almana. The Rabbanon, if you're going to say that the halacha you're teaching regarding the sister that became an Almana is according to the Rabbanon, but Ha'amri, the Rabbanon hold, Isser Chalal Isser. One Isser could take effect on another Isser. So the Gemara answers, no. Rabbana. This halacha that this Tana taught regarding the sister that became an almana, that could be even according to the Rabbanon. Why? Ki amri Rabbanon is a chalal isser. When do the Rabbanon say that a second isser could take effect on something that's already aser? Hanamili is a chamor al isakal. If the second isser is more severe than the second isser, then Chachamim say that the second isser will take effect. So over there, by the case of the nevela, which and afterwards the isser of eating a Yom Kippur, so the second isser is more chomer, so that will take effect according to the Rabbanon. Aval isser kal al isser chomer. But over here, what we're talking about is the first isser that this woman had was the fact that she's a sister. That's the isser kodesh. And now the second isser that comes is almana, which is just the isser of alav. That even the Rabbanon will agree, loy chayil. The isser does not take effect. Others say that the way this conversation over here went was actually the opposite. Again, the Tani had taught the halacha that if a Kohen marries his sister, a Kohen Gadol marries his sister, and she's also an almana, the Issa of almana will not take effect. So on this, he said, Hamani Rabbanani. This chiddush that you're telling me could be only according to the Rabbanan. Why? The Amri Chachamim hold usually Isser Chalal Isser. That one Isser takes effect in another Isser. And the chiddush that you're telling me is, V'chi Amri Rabbanan Isser Chalal Isser. When do the Rabbanan say that the second Isser could be Chal on the first Isser? Hanamili Isser Chomer al Isser Kal. If the second Isser is more severe than the first one. Aval Isser Kal al Isser Chomer. But that's what you're teaching me over here. That by the Almana, because this is more lenient than the first Isser, which is she's already a sister, Lo Yachal. Over here, that does not take effect. Chachamim will agree. The Rab Shimon, if you're telling me this halacha here, according to the Rab Shimon, there'd be no point of saying this. Hashte, Rab Shimon already taught the halacha regarding the nevela on Yom Kippur, Issa Chomer, al Issa Kal, even though the Issa of Yom Kippur is more Chomer than nevela. It's Issa Kodesh that's Chal on the Issa of nevela. And even there, Rab Shimon said, Loi Chayil, that the more severe Isser is not Chal and the more lenient Isser. So Issa Kal, al Issa Chomer Miboye, would it be necessary to say, according to Rab Shimon, that once this is a sister and it's Issa Kodesh, that the Issa of Allah will not take effect? So it can't be that you were teaching this like Rab Shimon. So the Gemara answers to that, no, not necessarily, because Ma'od the Teimeh, I would think to say, Isser Kohune Shani. That maybe the Isser of an Almane, which is an Isser for Kohune, maybe this is different, because since we find B'chlal B'negei to Kohune, there's a lot of Isurim that apply only for a Kain, not for anyone else. Maybe there's an extra Chumre regarding Kohune, that this Isser of Almane should take effect, even though she's already Isser for being a sister. I would think it takes effect. Kamash Malon, that's why the Brisa teaches, even according to Rab Shimon, that the Isser does not take effect. Rav Papa said to Abaye, and he asked him the following shaila. Yisrael haba lachaisai. Yisrael has a relation with his sister, which is Issa Kodesh. So Zaina Mashvila. What happens is this woman becomes a Zaina. But the question now is, besides her becoming a Zaina, Chalala Mashvila, Oilai Mashvila, does she additionally also have the status of a Chalala? Or no, she does not become a Chalala. She becomes a Zaina, but not a Chalala. This is really connected to what we had before. The Gemara before said a Chalala is only someone that was born from a Psula Kahuna, someone that was possible to Kahuna. So here he has a Shaila, he's saying maybe she could become a Chalala besides becoming a Zaina when the Yisrael Abala Chayseh, right. Okay, before the Gemara was talking about a child that's born from Psulim. Over here, the Gemara is not talking about the child that's born. Over here, the Gemara is talking about the woman herself. When she has a relation with someone which is a Issachadist, so she becomes a Zaina. That's the status of a Zaina, when she has a relation with someone that's Asr to her. But the question is, does she also become a Chalala? So what's the shaila? Mi amirina, do I say as follows? Kavachaymer. You can say there's a kavachaymer here. Michai ve'lavin have chalala. If she has a relation with a kayin, which is also to her to have a relation with, like she's a grusha that have a relation with a kayin, so she becomes a chalala. Michai ve'krises lekal sheken. So if she's a sister, she had a relation with her brother, and this is a chi of kares, she becomes a zaina. For sure, she should become a chalala as well. Oy dilme, or maybe no, we say aim chalala ella me'isa kohana. A woman only becomes a chalala if she had a relation with someone that's also for to get married to from a kohen, but not a sister, not any other isser. Amalei, so Abaye answered, aim chalala ella me'isa kohana bilvad. You only become a chalala if she had a relation with a kohen, which is also to her. There's by Yisrael, if she's a zayna, she got married to a brother. Over there, she becomes a zayna, but not a chalala. Amarave, so Rava said, from where do we know? This is the Chachamim said, Ein chalala ela me'isa kohone. There's no chalala unless there's a relation with isa kohone. The Tanya, because we learned in the Braise. And the Braise goes through a few details, and in the end it comes to this halacha. La yoyma grusha b'kohen gadol. It wasn't necessary for the Torah to say, the pasuk here, this is the pasuk quoted over here in the beginning of the Yomad. You have it here on the side. Almana, grusha, chalala, zayna, es ela yikaf. This is a pasuk that it says by kohen gadol, that a kohen gadol shouldn't marry all of these. Now the question is, it wasn't necessary to say that a kohen gadol is not allowed to marry a grusha, because of a taste of the kalvachayim and kohen hedyet. You can learn it out from what it said already before regarding a kohen hedyet. A kohen hedyet is not allowed to marry a grusha. If the grusha is not allowed to marry a kohen hedyet, kohen gadol mibaya. Do I need to say that the kohen gadol is not allowed to marry a grusha? Lo menemra. Why does it say grusha for a kohen gadol? The answer is, it's coming to say kishem shechaluka grusha mizayna v'chalala b'kohen hedyet. Just like regarding a kohen hedyet, the Torah divides that the grusha is one lav, the zayna and chalala is another lav. They're separate, and you get malchus of each one separately. The same thing by a kohen gadol, that I divide them, that the grusha is one lav and chalal zayin is another one. But the Gemara doesn't accept this answer. The Gemara says pshita. This is also obvious. Migra gada. Now that he became a kohen gadol, should he be any worse? This kohen gadol was a kohen hedyet before, so he becomes a kohen gadol, and something should change now. Ella, the Gemara says, rather the drasha here is kishem shechaluka grusha mizayna v'chalala b'kohen hedyet. What it's teaching me is just like grusha is a separate lav from zayna and chalala by kohen hedyet, kach, so too when the Torah added almana for a kohen gadol, so almana chaluka migrusha v'chalala and zayna b'kohen gadol. So too this almana, if it's almana together with grusha chalala zayna, for the almana you get a separate time malchus. That's why it's adding that grusha over here to compare the almana to the grusha. Just like grusha is a separate malchus, the almana is also a separate malchus. The next question the Braise asks, chalala lo menemra. Why does the Torah have to say that a kohen gadol shouldn't marry chalala? So the Gemara says, "Ein chalala." One second. Okay, yeah, chalala no menemra. Why does the Torah say chalala? Ein chalala elo me'isa kohuna. What to hear is where the Torah is saying this halacha that Abaye mentioned before, that you only become a chalala from me'isa kohuna. From the fact that the Torah said a chalala the second time, it's an extra pasuk. So this extra pasuk teaches me that the halacha of chalala is only if it's a woman that married a kohen that was also to her, not from any other isser, from a Yisrael, from a brother and a sister, and so on. Okay, now zayna lo menemra. Why does the Torah have to repeat again that a kohen gadol is not allowed to marry a zayna? If the same halacha already says by the kohen hedyet. So the answer is as follows: Nema kan zayna. It says here zayna v'nema la alon zayna. and it says by the Kohen Hedyot that he shouldn't marry a Zaina. Ma kan zare chulin, just like by the Kohen Gadol, it desecrates the children. Where does it say leichal zare, that the children become halal? That pasuk says only by Kohen Gadol. So now we learn out from the Kohen Gadol, just like by the Kohen Gadol, the children become a halal. Afla halan, so do by the Kohen Hedyot zare chulin. The children become also desecrated through this marriage. So that's the comparing Zaina. So we know that the same halacha that the children become halalim are learned out from the Kohen Gadol. Omar Ravashi. Now Ravashi said another halacha we learn out from here. Hilkach, since we just said that there's no din of halala unless it's a Isser Kahuna, so Kayin, Haba Lachaisei. A Kayin Hedyot or a Kayin Gadol that went and married his sister. And this is his sister, she's not an Asher sis. She went and married his sister. What happens? Zaina Mashvila. Now his sister becomes a Zaina. Chalala le Mashvila. But he doesn't make her a Chalala. Because the Isser here is not a unique Isser for a Kayin. This is the Isser that there is, that any Yid is not allowed to marry a sister. So she becomes a Chalala. That's it. She becomes a Zaina and not a Chalala. Now, Chazaru Ba'al. But if this Kayin goes and has a second relation with her, so now she was already a Zaina before, and now he has a relation again. Now a Kayin is not allowed to marry a Zaina, now a Chalala. Whether this same Kayin or another Kayin now has a relation with her, now she's going to become a Chalala as well.